Alright, we are recording. Continuing going medieval. Going early access. Keys provided by Tinsley PR. Trying to remember what else there is. I think we're in winter now? At least approaching it. I think it was a season change not long ago. We'll see. We'll see soon if once it loads. So probably the biggest news from this week that I've talked about would be the Ubisoft thing. Yeah. So that is Ubisoft has entered a deal with Tencent, which is Ubisoft is forming a new subsidiary that will get Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and at least Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six IPs. Those will all be under this. Those will all belong to this subsidiary. Now, what does that have to do with Tencent? Because technically that's something that Ubisoft could just decide to do on its own. Tencent is investing, I don't remember how much now. I think it was like $1.25 billion or something. Hang on, let me see if I can actually find that again. Shouldn't be too hard, it's just in this source link. Yeah, $1.25 billion into it. Now it's only getting it, I think so, somewhere about a 25%, a minority stake. Okay, I'm just looking at this thing because it looks like it's been updated a little bit. But yeah, it's this is a major thing. Because it does. Okay, so Tencent with minority stake there. It sounds like their minority stake will still give them veto power for some stuff, but it does mean that Tencent does have a partial ownership potentially. I'm not sure if it would be ownership, but at least a connection to the Assassin's Creed franchise, Far Cry franchise, and the Rainbow Six franchise going forward, which I suspect those of Ubisoft's IPs are the most valuable. Yeah, it's a weird situation, basically, that we're in here. Because Ubisoft has been struggling for quite a while. They've not been putting out the highest quality of games for a while. Kind of a problem. And there have been people for a while wondering if the company would end up going bankrupt, would end up collapsing, and things would be sold off. And somebody even been speculating that Tencent specifically would be involved with some of that. And by involved, I don't just mean would then come in and try to buy stuff up, but also there have been some speculating. It sounds like a conspiracy theory, but the weird thing is how certain things do kind of line up. Okay, I'm not interested in that. Okay, so I'm just going to let the research keep going. With some of the ideological stuff that some gamers want, a lot don't, in their video games. Some of that can actually be tracked back to, like, you'll see a company suddenly doing that after they've gotten money from Tencent. Also, places like BlackRock and such. It's weird. It's weird and wild how some of that works. But there's that conspiracy theory then that this is, that if Tencent had been making, and I'm not saying this is true or not, I'm just saying people have this theory. And it's that it basically Tencent with these other companies try to, like, oh, we'll give you a loan or whatever. They'll try to get a connection at the company, have them start applying this stuff, which then sees the games do poorly, because a lot of gamers don't really want to play that. I mean, like, take the Dragon Age Veilguard stuff. Dragon Age should be a fairly solid brand, but that was one of the worst releases for that franchise ever. I mean, to epic proportions. I think some people even showing that Skyrim was still getting more daily players than it. And Skyrim is it's quite old now. It's well over a decade old. It's like and that's not even all Skyrim players, because there's multiple versions of Skyrim that would show up in the Steam stats. So, But yeah, so the conspiracy theory is they do that so they can weaken the brand, and then when it's cheap, they buy it. Now, this isn't an outright purchase, but it does still mean they would have influence over those IPs. It's just a weird situation. But one thing, though, that I do want to add, and this is, I don't know market stuff, but it does seem to me this idea of having a subsidiary that you would give those major IPs to, I could almost believe that's something that Ubisoft would have done regardless. In that, if the company would then to go bankrupt, or just pieces we have to sell off, those pieces would be in one entity that potentially could survive, could potentially weather all that, while everything else would get sold off. I could see that being the case. And that, like, Ubisoft had been thinking about that for a while, and that Tencent is just partnering with them on this. Yeah, but it is also, this I do think is very important, because this news came out a week after Assassin's Creed Shadows released. Both that game and this news would have been months to potentially even years in the making. Which would mean then that they timed these announcements, the release and the announcement to that. Like the delays to Assassin's Creed Shadows, at least some of them would have been made when they would have had this deal, at least part of the plan figured out. That is absolutely reasonable. And it's also something like this would have to be announced around now anyway because of first quarter financial kind of stuff. I mean, it is more involved than just the surface level kind of stuff. I think is what can be assumed. It will be wild to see what ultimately happens from this, though. Will this save Ubisoft is the most obvious question. I don't really care. Maybe that. I don't think I care about any of that, but the distilling might be yes. That would have to go here, though. Sorry, just really had an itch up my nose I need to scratch. That was quite uncomfortable until I got to it. Alright, okay, I don't think I have any use for that. Wait. Oh, okay, brewing station. Fermenting station. Oh, okay, I didn't realize it was that large. I don't know if people will be able to walk by that or not. Here, you know what? We'll put one there then. Yeah, let's do this then. Guess could talk a little bit about Assassin's Shadows, which I have not purchased. Don't own it. I don't really have an interest in it, to be honest. I mean, it just... I don't know, I've said it before. I can say it again. The whole... I mean, it's like... If I'm gonna play a game set in Japan, I expect to be playing somebody Japanese. I mean, it's like when they were in Italy and you're playing in Italian. That's what I'd expect. And it just... I mean, at least... In Valhalla, sure, you're playing a Viking in England, but to be fair, the Vikings were in England. And it's like, just as a whole, there were Vikings in England. Yes, Yasuke was in Japan, but it still is he was very much an aberration at that time, an anomaly at that time in Japan. The Vikings in England at that time were not an anomaly, so... They weren't necessarily that welcome in England, but yeah, it's... Yeah. I remember, what does it take for a workshop? Well, sure, so... Yeah, that's fine. Right, so... I'm trying to remember where they put them. Because that's also one of those things about this game. Is it in here? Yeah, roll tool shop. Okay. And that, in theory, will then see production sped up. Huh. So none of those would count. That seems odd. I wonder if that's actually a bug. Like, this should actually be saying that it would include this stuff as well. Because why wouldn't a fermenting station or a spirit distillery? Nope. It is in fact not. It's still sitting. Huh. That... I don't know why these wouldn't count for a workshop. Or just having something else that they would benefit from. I don't know. I don't know. I just want to see how the plants do. Because I do love the fact that this... Okay, it's... Well, okay, it's also night at the moment, but kind of like how... Wow, that's actually interesting how many of these are stunted. But they are still growing. They're... Sorry. They're warm enough for that. Oh, it's trying to warm up in general. um, so I'm just looking back at my notes about the Ubisoft thing. Yeah, there's also one quote that it's like, this is pure corporate speech. This new subsidiary will focus on building game ecosystems designed to become truly evergreen and multi-platform. Yeah. So in other words, we want to try to bring this to as many places as possible, multi-platform, which actually in one way that could be very, very scary for these IPs. And evergreen, which in theory, they just mean people always enjoy them. People always love them. Like, Far Cry Blood Dragon, I don't think anyone has ever truly complained about that. But it could also mean that that's going to be a games as a service kind of thing, software as a service kind of thing, where it's microtransactions, so that people will just continue playing them. And it's like, I mean, there are some games that make sense for. I could see that making sense for Rainbow Six. Does that make sense for Assassin's Creed? No. Assassin's Creed is a solo game, single player game. I mean, yes, the yearly cadence wasn't healthy for it, but at the same time, a yearly cadence for a single player game makes sense. Just as far as how well you can react to what changes in the technology, changes in the culture that wants certain things, yearly cadence makes sense. It is also lousy because it doesn't give you time to pause, reflect, and develop. But it still is. I can understand trying to do that. For that. But the multi-platform, what occurred to me that could be really bad is multi-platform could be let's bring it to phones as well. It's like, no, don't do that. But I can absolutely believe that they will try to do that. Because of how you've got things like places trying to claim that the gaming audience is 50% men, 50% women, and this is actually not true. At least not for Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Rainbow Six. No. The only way you get that 50-50 is if you do count mobile games and such, Candy Crush and such, because those are typically, yeah, it's a stereotype, but it's still accurate. That's typically what you'd find women playing, not so much men. So if you look at, okay, well, what is the actual breakdown? What's the analytics for Assassin's Creed? That honestly could be like better than 90% men. So by trying to bring that to mobile, who does that wouldn't serve anyone? Well, that wouldn't serve the 90%. That would only serve that maybe 10%. But even then, if the 10% of women, if 90 is true, that 10% of women, they're playing the game where it is. They're not looking to play it somewhere else. They're happy with where it is. So you'd be trying to attack the women and men as well, that, what they play would just be like Candy Crush kind of thing. How do you bring Assassin's Creed to Candy Crush in a sincere way that doesn't potentially damage the main games? I don't know. I don't know how you could do that. I think it would invariably have to damage the main games. But by, if nothing else, weakening what the brand is, what the expectation is for the series. I'm just trying to think, what would be a good analogy? We might actually have that with Assassin's Creed. How, I was like, because I have heard people talking about it, the best Assassin's Creed games seems universally people will say, oh yeah, it's the Ezio trilogy. There are people that will say that Black Flag is also very good. I would say personally, for the best single game, yeah, Black Flag is probably my favorite. But, well, no, Assassin's Creed Odyssey might, but there's a grave distinction between those two. But the Ezio trilogy, like between those three, is the best experience. I think is the best Assassin's Creed experience, and I think a lot of people would agree agree with that. Well, you look at these Ezio trilogy, you compare that to Origins, Odyssey, or Valhalla, it's a very different experience. Now, some of that was intentional. Some of it was Ubisoft saw Assassin's Creed was getting too repetitive, people weren't caring about it, let's try to change up the formula and go with that. And they did, and hey, it's still possible to enjoy them. Are they truly Assassin's Creed games in terms of what was said earlier? No. No, they weren't. No, they aren't. And that has upset people. Which is fine, but has it damaged the brand? Well, for those people, probably, because they might look to see, oh, yeah, what's the next Assassin's Creed game, and then decide, like, okay, is that something I want versus something I don't want? Whereas before, it would have been oh, there's a new Assassin's Creed game, I'll just buy it because I so enjoy it. Like, that is harming the main games, and that was still in the main games, it's just they did change the style to it. I almost want to replay Valhalla. Because just hearing people talk about it and saying that it wasn't that good, and it's like, I enjoyed it. I got enjoyment out of that, but it is still, when I think back on it, the one thing that most stands out to me that I so enjoyed, and I give props to it for this, is because I would just, and if you watch the review playthrough, you'll see this. I like to just, it's like, start here, I'm going to go out in this direction, see what there is. Like, I will do that. If it's an open world game, I will explore the entirety of the map. That is what I enjoy doing. Valhalla, I felt when I did that and would encounter like the small villages and such that have their own side quests there, I felt every time I did that the side quests were kind of unique to them. I mean, it wasn't just, the same old fetch quest. It wasn't just that. Oh, no. Easy chapter 2. Not that I can upgrade him to that. Same for a moment I could. Okay, so he is happy. So just seeing the small green there, I wonder if he's sick. Anyhow. But yeah, the fact that they felt different. It would almost be... This is a lousy example, but it is still one of those things that I could see some doing to make use of the technology. I also just want to see, is there anything here? Come on. Oh, no, I did. Okay, so it is just... It's just like that. There. I don't know. But that's something that, potentially we could see a generative AI used for, where just as you play, it'll give you a random mission there. That it's small, it's insignificant, but still, yeah. But I do remember with Valhalla actually having that feeling, and normally it is. You play a game like that, and it's like, oh, here's a new fetch quest. Where now instead of trying to get a pot, maybe now it's a frying pan, kind of thing. And it's like, okay, how does that help? It's like, but it's all the same thing. Was they all seem to have a personality to them? It seemed like to me. I mean, even Odyssey, and I like Odyssey, of that trilogy, I like Odyssey the best of them. Even Odyssey doesn't have that feeling to it. But yeah, Odyssey, though, I enjoy that gameplay more, the story more, the setting. I like mythology in general, so that was a lot of fun. And also the colors, I'll be honest. That is a bright, colorful game. Odyssey is. Whereas Valhalla is a bit more grim in its colors, which might be accurate, but it's still a bit more grim. I mean, it kind of reminds me of Just Cause 3 to 4. Just Cause 3 is a very bright, colorful game. Like, the saturation is turned up. It says Just Cause 4 was not. It felt like we had the whole brown filter again from the 360 era. And it just... I also didn't feel that it innovated on Just Cause 3 sufficiently. So, yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't care as much for Just Cause 4's Just Cause 3. Just Cause 3 is fantastic. In my opinion, of course. But anyway, I'm just trying to think, because did I finish my point? I think I may have finished my point with Assassin's Creed, the how things changed going from Syndicate to Origins, and then how that that changed for some people. Yes, they would have stopped playing. I don't know if anyone would have picked up playing Assassin's Creed with that trilogy. But it still is. If they picked it up and wanted to keep playing, what would they find? Well, if they play the older games, it's very different, especially the first one. The original Assassin's Creed is so different. I'm not sure when it would have been, but the change also to being more of an action game versus a stealth game. Because there's also that with the change with the Assassin's Creed stuff. Okay. Let's start opening things up. Low. I can save the fuel. That's what I'm thinking. Low. No, it's kind of funny. It has a sense of rooms, but you can't select only the windows for this room. There are so many obvious quality of life things to this game that they just don't want to do. Very frustrating. Okay. There. Alright, oh, yes, that's true. I do need to change this stuff up. Alright. That should be fine. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else to really mention, but nothing really coming to mind. I mean, it's just... It would not surprise me if this could be accurately described as Ubisoft flailing to try to remain alive. Maybe they'll succeed. I do not know. But the question is also, what is going to come of this in the future? What is the result of this going to be? Will it potentially see the other IP sold off to help bring in money? Will you see studios spun off with their IP? It is hard to know. And well, here, let me also help put this idea in your head for helping with the context here. Ubisoft has other IPs like Rayman, right? Rayman, in theory, could be a 1-2 year cadence because you could do a smaller, simpler game there. Assassin's Creed needs more time to develop. Okay, but you could potentially do a new Rayman every year or two, right? Completely new game, and it would be completed, it would be fleshed out, all that. Because it's a smaller, simpler game. If they were to do that, that game could potentially be bringing in money. Not necessarily a whole lot, but the thing is, you're constantly putting it out, so you'd be constantly bringing in some money. This is kind of the thing with, like Hollywood is guilty of this right now, where they've become so addicted to the billion-dollar movies, where they spend $1 billion and they hope to make $1 billion back, that's everything that they focus on. So instead of that being like 1 out of 100, it's now like 5 out of 20. that they try for, but they fail and they don't make enough money back to be worth it. And so you don't have the, like the Hollywood slowly used to talk about budgets there, a $20 million movie that can make $40 million, which is a complete return on investment, but it's only making $40 million. Instead, they're trying to make like $200, $300, $400 million movies that may only end up making $200, $300, $400 million. But so they're larger investments, larger risk, and then it ends up failing and they're stuck. Like Hollywood would be well off if they started making more, choosing to make more of the just $20 million or even just $10 million movies. That you pump those out frequently enough, and you make sure that they are good enough that you'll make a constant stream of money from that. That's not necessarily a lot, but it is making you money. Ubisoft should be doing that as well. Technically, all the game companies should be doing that with things such as for Ubisoft, it'd be Rayman. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that like Rayman isn't one of their larger titles. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that style of game supports a more focused and shorter development cycle and cadence. Sure, I'll take those. Don't think I need the ass. You know what? Take that. Take that as well. I do not need dung bricks. Don't need flaxseed. I'm going to end up needing some. Well, I don't need this many sun clothes though. Nope, no, I'll keep the good. Alright. Let's... Okay, that's fine. But yeah, and it I would say with both industries, Hollywood and games industry, and it isn't just Ubisoft. I would also make that kind of criticism of Embracer Group that holds so much stuff. Is a lack of understanding of the value of their IP. This is absolutely true of Hollywood, and I do not doubt it is also true of the games industry. So, for example, with Embracer, I am very happy that they decided to resurrect the Darksiders franchise. Now, true, they've only done 2 games, and it's been a while, so we have no reason to believe that the next one, that there is going to be a Darksiders 4. I don't think Darksiders 3 did poor enough to not warrant it. I can understand it taking a while, but I would love to see Red Faction brought back. Like, legitimately, I would love it if they would decide, you know what, we're going to put together a team or get a studio that will remake the original Red Faction, but to a whole new engine and bringing in things that people liked from Red Faction Guerrilla and even Armageddon. Armageddon had good tech, okay? It had good technology in there. Bring that in and basically update the Geomod engine from that. Make it modern day. Don't use Unreal. Let it be an in-house system that is very, very much designed on traditional rasterization for one thing, so we're not doing temporal everything, but also crap, my brain just turned off. But also very advanced physics simulations. Okay, do that. Because here's the thing, I'd probably buy that. If you kept true to the spirit of Red Faction, the original game, both the original game, Red Faction, and the series, that would be a lot of fun. But they're not doing that, and I don't know why. And that doesn't have to be I was going to say $100 million game, but I don't remember how much some video games take to make. But you could do that. And that game would likely make money. Both because you would have people like me who have played all 4 games and enjoyed them, and would like to play more. Well, I did not enjoy Red Faction 2. That is not a very good game. But it still is, like, that's... You would have people buying it for that reason. You would also have people buying it because it's a new game that just seems interesting, just looks interesting. Why they're not doing that, though, I don't know. Oops. No. Just trying to click up here. Just want to see, are there any... Yes, there's actually a lot. Okay. Alright. But yeah, I don't know why. I mean, it's also like Ubisoft has, I don't know if they still do have it because they haven't done anything with it, the Trials franchise. Which again, that could be like even a $20 million. I believe that could be done very inexpensively. But again, have that like yearly cadence or something to it. The issue with games like that, though, and I will grant this, is, at least for me, I wouldn't, even if I loved Trials, and I do have Trials Evolution, it's not my kind of game. So would I want to buy subsequent games to it? Not necessarily. But that's where you could do something where it's like, you know what, we will do one game that we then just do expansions for every year until, like, 3, 4, maybe 5 years later, then you put out a new game. So it's a whole new engine and something like that. You could do that. You could do something like that. That would also help keep costs down potentially. But you could do work like that, and it would probably make some money. Take advantage of the smaller IPs. I'll bet if they were doing that, Ubisoft would be in a better shape than this. Or they'd be in worse shape if they, were doing it very badly. Which is absolutely possible. So maybe it's best than not, but it still is. You have these companies that literally are sitting on dozens of IPs in some cases that are liked, but they're not doing anything with them. Okay, yeah, I think I will be stopping on now. But they're just not doing anything with them. But also not willing to hand them over to somebody else that wants to do something with them. There's the question of Ship of Theseus that I kind of want to mention as well, which is you have, and I think I've mentioned this before, the whole idea that you have something that when it was first made was special, but over time, as parts are changed out, is it still the same thing? Well, no, you don't necessarily have that, because, like, with a ship, if you replace one piece of wood with another, it's still wood there, assuming it's this right kind of wood and all that. But with a game studio, or a movie studio for that matter, but for a game studio, the person that had the ideas to do something, if they leave, you don't have that person anymore. You don't have that specific talent. You can have somebody else's talent. And that somebody else's talent could have been brought up, could have been raised by that first person's talent, but it's somebody else's talent. So to use Dragon Age as the example, the people that gave us Dragon Age Origins are not the same people that worked on Dragon Age Veilguard. Some of them left to go to other companies. Some of them would have left to do their own thing. Some of them would have retired. And yeah, so there is that element of if if Ubisoft were like with Rayman decide, you know what, it's our IP, but we're going to license it out to this other developer who is very adamant about their love for it, that they really want to do it and all that, and we feel we can trust them with it. It's still going to be different, but it's going to be different people doing it than the original. So it might lose some. It might also gain some. It's hard to tell. Sometimes you take that kind of gamble on there, but it does seem like a lot of these companies see it as, well, no, if it's not us making it, then no one else should be making it. They just, as though putting something in a vault gives it value. It's like, no, it actually reduces the value. Let me put it like this. And I definitely get that this isn't completely accurate for everyone. But I recognize that money only has value when it's used, which is when it's spent. That, if it's just sitting there, there's no value to it. It's not improving my life, it's not hurting my life, but it's not doing anything for it. But if I spend that money, well, I'm going to spend on something that I value more than that money, which means then that money now, by the act of spending it, has value that it did not before. Some of these companies with stuff in their vaults, it's like that means it has no value. It has no value to you because you're not using it. It has no value to anyone else. And because of the length of time, you're potentially diminishing the potential value for it as well. So, yeah, it's... But I do also get the whole... Sometimes you need that time. Like, Red Faction Armageddon, to use that as the example. It is actually a fun game. It is not Red Faction Guerrilla 2. Okay? That is critical. It is not Red Faction Guerrilla 2. It's a different Red Faction game. But it's still fun. It is still enjoyable. And people need to... I can understand them waiting before doing more with that. But enough time has passed that, yeah, you can do another Red Faction game and people will give it a chance. That the bad taste in their mouths from Armageddon has washed away. But who knows? I really don't know what's going to happen with Ubisoft. As sad or dark a note as this may sound, there's a part of me, and this is true for a lot of places, that would almost like to see it fail, just so that then the IP do end up getting sold to places that would then hopefully do things with it. Because it is also, it's again one of those fears that, like with Ubisoft, maybe they are we are, we've got all this problem with debt and all that. What do we do? What do we do? Well, making another Assassin's Creed game, because some of those will make us $1 billion. Make a good one of that, and we'll make hundreds of millions to even billions of dollars off that. It's like that seems a good idea because it's one project. You have to spend hundreds of millions on it. But it's still one project that can potentially get you all to success. The person in that same room, though, that would say, well, no, let's do Rayman. Let's do Trials. Let's do these other games that are much smaller, yes. And it's multiple games, so each one has a chance to fail and to succeed or fail. But let's try that. And yeah, we might not be making hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars off them, but they keep the lights on. Well, the one game seems more enticing, but the problem is you put so much weight on that then you end up throwing so much money. Like the credits are 2 hours long apparently for that game. Now, to be fair, some of that is just everyone who touched the game is getting credit, which is not really the place we want to be, to be honest. Because it's like not everyone who touches any product has should earn that kind of credit. Let me give an example for me. One of my books, I actually have gotten on one book feedback from somebody while I was writing it. This has only happened once. It was literally the first one. And I did make some changes because of that feedback from my friend. That friend would never get a credit. I did all the work. It was only me that actually wrote that story. But the friend did help me some. But that doesn't give that friend any credit. But that's not how it works in Hollywood or the games industry today, it seems. Where it's like, no. If someone just gave you an idea, we have to put your credit in that. If somebody brought coffee to the person who brings you coffee, you credit that. It's like, that's absurd. But it is because of and it's also all these other people getting involved that are actually touching it. And it's like, too many cooks in the kitchen thing, and now every cook has to be credited, every cook has to be paid as well. And it's like, you end up making them into these money pits in the desperate move to try to have that be what saves the company, what makes you hundreds of millions to billions of dollars, versus the more steady stream, like the Raymans, the Trials, and other experimental games as well. That, yeah, smaller budgets, they probably will end up making smaller profits, but they keep doing that. You know what that profit ends up going to? It goes to continuing those series, yes, but it also then goes to the big titles. Those are your foundational games. And chasing after the Halo product type games, the ones that, the $1 billion things, chasing after that, you end up wasting a lot of money because it still has a chance to fail. And in some cases, because they're so desperate, that desperation comes through and it ends up being damaged. Can come through in that they're just trying to do too much that they shouldn't be doing. They should keep it focused. Or they start trying to change it to appease loud voices even, but still voices that they're not the people that play these games. I mean, it's going back to the Candy Crush kind of thing. It's like, could you imagine if they put in a mini game into an Assassin's Creed game that was Candy Crush? That they put that in the game because, that'll get these people playing it because it's like, my wife, my girlfriend, my daughter, my mother, whatever. They play that all the time. It's like, yeah, they're not going to buy your game to play it though. They'll just keep playing Candy Crush. I think I've talked about this in other things. People set habits. Breaking a habit, trying to get somebody to take on a new habit is very challenging. And it's kind of like, I'm probably going to be going off on this depending on how Titan Quest 2 goes. I want that to be a Titan Quest 2. I don't want it to be Path of Exile 2 or 3, whatever, or Diablo, whatever. I don't want that. I want it to be Titan Quest. That's where my habit is. It's not in Diablo, it's not in Path of Exile. So I've already seen some things that make me think they're trying to do that. It's like, no, that's not what I want. If I wanted to set that habit, guess what? I'd be playing those games. I wouldn't be playing Titan Quest 2. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. And that being early access means plenty of time to change. But it's just, you get that is something that I think a lot of people forget, that they think we are. It's almost like they believe we are shallow enough that just you throw the name on there, but you're copying somebody else's homework, and that, well, it's the name that attracts them. No, it's the homework. It's the work. That's what attracts us. And that's what'll keep us there. If you don't satisfy us there, the name doesn't mean anything. Or the name ends up being harmed. So, yeah, it's... I don't know. It's going to be an interesting... Thinking 2 or 3 years we'll really find out how this ends up going for Ubisoft. Because they'll have to make some announcement. I have no idea what games are coming up for them. Like Assassin's Creed Shadows is the last one that I know of. I have no knowledge. I don't recall any rumors for future Far Cry games. I don't really follow Rainbow Six games, to be fair, so I can't answer them that. Assassin's Creed, I know there's still that timeline, but the things they want to do going into the future, I got no clue if any of that is really moving, though. And the fact that they've moved it into the subsidiary, I could also believe that would be a reason for them to change that timeline, for them to drop things. Or at least now they have a new group of people that will be in charge of that subsidiary who can say, yeah, that was a nice idea, we're not doing it. Yeah, it's... I don't know. We're going to see what comes in the coming years with this, but yeah. All right, plenty of my blathering. See you next time.